Beta Upsilon Chi, BUX, presents Man to Men, the premier audio journal for men who live faithfully and lead courageously. I'm Jared Musgrove, bringing you an installment in our occasional series, Collegiate Leaders. These are conversations with college men who live faithfully and lead courageously on major campuses across the country. And today, we welcome Connor Wilson Straight from Georgia Southern University. Connor, welcome aboard.
Hey, man. How are you?
It's great to see you again. The dinner that we shared just a couple of months ago at our National Leadership Summit at BUX has always stuck with me. So I was excited to just share a little bit about what we were talking about with the rest of the guys here who are listening in. So been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I was happy to see the text messages when that came across my phone. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that the way that you see life and leadership and BUX is pretty cool. But just to give everybody a primer as we begin here, Connor, just give us what I call the LinkedIn stats. Background, major area of study. What are you doing there at Georgia Southern? Kind of BUX resume. Give it all.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm 23 years old, so I'm a little bit on the older side when it comes to guys in BUX.
Honored elder, huh?
Yeah. Yes. I came in when I was a sophomore, though, so this is going to be my fourth year in BUX. But we'll get to that. So I'm from a little town called Bethlehem, Georgia. If nobody's ever heard of that, it's like 30 minutes outside of Athens. So I consider myself a pretty big Bulldog fan.
Okay.
Love the University of Georgia. Grew up in a Christian household. Got baptized at a very young age. So Christianity has always been a big part of my life, heading into college. As far as Georgia Southern goes, I was I'm in my master's now. So my undergrad was in recreation and tourism management. Just started my master's program. That's in public administration. So it's interesting so far.
Yeah.
Why Georgia Southern? I guess that's a great question. I actually never toured Georgia Southern when I was in high school. I think September rolled around and the application things came out for all the colleges, and I was like, I've got some friends that go down there. Sounds fun. And so I applied, got in like October, and ever since I was like locked in. Never applied to another school. Never took a tour. So it was Georgia Southern or bust for me.
All right. Looks like it worked out.
Yeah, pretty well. I'd say so.
Man, because of your longevity there on campus, you would be a good one to give us this perspective. What's it like being a Christ follower at GSU? What are some of the challenges and unexpected joys?
Yeah. When I was thinking about this question, I was like, man, it's changed so much since when I was a freshman to now when I'm like in my first year of grad school. When I was here as a freshman, I didn't feel like there was a lot of community. There weren't very many places to get plugged in. And if there were, they weren't advertised on campus prominently, so you didn't really know about them. But now that's grown so much in like the last 4 years, where it's like we had something called Connection, which is a church down here, and that Wednesday night service blew up. And we'd have Wednesdays where we'd have over 1,000 people gathered in a church on a Wednesday night, and they were all college students. And now we have things like BCM and Wesley and Crew that are just consistently growing day in and day out, which is really cool to see. With the challenges of the nightlife and the partying and everything that happens here at Georgia Southern, it was extremely hard to feel like you belonged here if that was something that you weren't a part of, and you didn't have that Christian community. So starting my freshman year, not having Christian community and not being prominent at Georgia Southern was difficult. But then getting plugged into things like BUX and those guys, encouraging me to go to church, that helped grow me and my Christianity. And now it's just been a huge joy because I have people all around me where I'm like, these guys they're inviting me into Christ, and they do that day in and day out. And I've been in BUX for almost 4 years now. So it's great to see how I've grown and how the campus itself has grown with BUX's impact, and just the impact of every other ministry and every other church around here has just been awesome.
Oh, amazing, man. What do you feel like, just kind of zooming out a little bit? And again, you kind of looking back on a collegiate career and now in your master's degree, what are misperceptions that you feel that most people have about your generation?
I'd say it's that we don't care. A lot of people kind of say that we don't care about, whether that be school, whether it be Christianity, whether it be relationships. We kind of have this persona of, it's whatever. Whatever happens, happens. But I've seen completely the opposite, right? Because everybody that I'm plugged in with down here in Statesboro, they care about everything. They care about their careers. They care about their friendships. Both my roommates are now engaged, and like they seriously care about their careers and moving forwards with their future wives and starting families. and spreading the gospel to, through their marriages. So that's been really cool to see. So yeah, I just don't think, I think we care deeply, and we're deeply connected through technology, which also helps because we get to see things not only happening in our little world, but things happening across the entire United States and even out of the country where we're like, how can we get plugged in here?
Right. In a way no other generation has ever had access to. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. What are signs of hope that you see on your campus, Connor, just as far as God on the move? What are signs that you see of him working?
Yeah. I kind of touched on it earlier, but like just the increase in student ministries and people actually attending them, right? They've always been here, but when you don't have a lot of people attending something, it's hard to see that impact on a campus with around 26,000 people. You're like, it might not be that big. But I've seen more and more people get involved. I've seen more and more men's groups on their own doing like Bible studies. And that's not even Bucks guys. That's guys outside of Bucks that are like a couple of their buddies. They're meeting in their living room, hosting a Bible study for an hour and a half. And I can get to hear about that. And I get to witness that. And I have a few good friends that are doing that. It's awesome to see. And even outside of Georgia Southern, I kind of wanted to touch on this a little bit because it's super cool. Outside of Southern, but like in Statesboro, we have this thing called Camp 7. And it's where we get to show the love of Christ to foster kids for 4 days. So these are kids, they've gone through the ringer, essentially. Some of them have, some of them haven't. But, us as college students at Georgia Southern, we're starting to get plugged into that. Especially this past year, there was 10 or 12 people from Georgia Southern and surrounding universities that are pouring out the love of Christ to these foster kids who might not get to see that every day because they might not be in a home that, believes in Christianity, or they might not be in a home that fosters that type of love towards them.
Man, I hear a lot of your heart and passion come out as you talk about this. I love it. One thing that impressed me about you, Connor, and just sitting with you and even talking with you now is that you truly love the Lord. When did that begin for you? When did you start walking with Jesus, and what does it look like to grow up in Christ?
Yeah, it happened at a very young age. But with that, there's always peaks and valleys, right? There's always, I feel like there's spiritual highs and there's spiritual lows as well. And that's indicative on how you walk and how closely you walk with the Lord. And so at a young age, I was like on fire. I was like, yeah, I want to get baptized. And then as I went through high school, it was like, not necessarily doubts, but kind of straying, kind of trying to do my own thing and realizing, hey, this isn't for me. Not Christianity itself, but hey, my path is not the way to go. I want to follow Christ. And when I came down to college, it was like, now I actually have community where this can help. And I get to see those fruits daily, where it's like, man, the way that I used to act in high school is completely different than how I act now, after 4 years of college, being transformed by walking with Christ. And it's a daily struggle as well, because, there's some days where I'm like, man, I'm feeling real beat down. And then there's days where I'm like standing on the mountaintop. And so getting in my word daily and trying to pray daily and those things like that, it's really helped. But it's not always easy.
Yeah. What are places in the Bible that you enjoy going to, or that you look forward to diving into more?
Yeah. Right now, I'm in Proverbs. So I don't know. I picked a random book, honestly, because I'd been struggling with reading. And I was like, let me just pick a random book. And it was Proverbs. It's been a minute since I read because, Christmas break was busy. But now that school's starting back up, I want to get back in that rhythm of doing that. So I'm excited to start that this week as well.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. One of my favorite books in the entirety of the Bible. Yeah. Love the Proverbs collection.
Yes, sir.
It's so much fun. And that honestly kind of leads me into something I want to talk about with you, Connor, and that we talked about at that dinner a couple of months ago. And that Proverbs is really the leadership manual, I believe, of the Bible. That's how the book is designed. And you impressed me as a leader with some longevity. You have really committed for some time, specifically to the Bucks chapter at GSU. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved and your leadership journey that is still continuing even this year in the chapter.
Yes, sir. So like I said, this is my 4th year of Bucks, but I've been a leader for the past 3 years. It started out after pledgeship. I'll give you kind of a little bit of deeper dive, but in pledgeship, I was like, this isn't really for me. I enjoy being here, but I'm not really bought in. And I didn't get to see the fruits of Bucks at all, because when you're not bought in, you don't get to see anything. One thing that we live by down here is you get in what you put in, right? You get out what you put in. And so it's easy to see the fruits when you're putting in a lot of work in towards leadership or towards whatever it may be in Bucks. You're going to be able to see that as your career goes on. But yeah, I served as philanthropy chair, which then led me to run for vice president. And I was able to do that for a year. And then that led me to be president, and I did that for a year. Just finished that this past semester. And now I'm serving as the recruitment coordinator this year. So just when I thought I was retired, God was like, no, we want you to do one more thing.
Yeah.
So now I'm recruitment coordinator.
I love it. I've loved watching your leadership. We'll enjoy seeing a lot of younger brothers that you're recruiting into Bucks get to benefit from that this year. What's a word you would have to guys who are maybe in their junior or senior year, maybe in Bucks, maybe in another student org, or just, like they're getting on the senior side of their college years, and they're thinking about just hitting autopilot, or maybe just, piecing out altogether from the organizations. What is something that you would say to them based on your experience and your commitment to longevity and leadership in Bucks?
The reason I do it is because I love the guys in my chapter a lot, and that's with or without a leadership position, right? I love the guys in my pledge class, even when I was a pledge and not very involved. And I love the guys throughout my vice presidency and my presidency. And that still continues today. Even if I wasn't RC, I still wanted to find a way to be involved, no matter if that was, answering any questions the new officer corps had. But for those guys that are in junior and senior positions, you have a lot of what I call Bucks knowledge, right? You've been around the block a time or two, and you know what's going on. And you're always going to fail as a leader, right? You're always going to fail. But it's how you respond to those failures that helps the chapter in the long run. Like, you can respond with a lot of grace and compassion, or you can respond with a lot of anger when something goes wrong. And for new leaders coming in, they might not know what that looks like yet. And so for somebody that's been around the block, it's important that you're there to help grow them as leaders and say, hey, that's not the way to handle that. Like, let's take a step back and see this from a different perspective. And guys look up to that. They see that and they're like, wow, I can't believe this guy's 23 years old and he's still doing things in Bucks. And I'm like, 19, 20 years old, and I'm just getting started. It's really encouraging for some of those guys to see. But you touched on it. It's encouraging for me to see the guys that I brought in and see, dang, man, like one guy I recruited a couple of years ago, he's the president this year. And like, man, that's awesome. Like, to see how he's grown and see how my leadership affected him and he's able to grow through that.
It's a gift, man. It's sometimes it's like a duel. It's like, I don't know who's getting blessed more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You mentioned some of those men that you have just loved over the years in Bucks. And this is where you get to celebrate. I think we've got to celebrate friendship and just brotherhood. Who are the men in your life, Connor, whom you admire most and you want to emulate?
Yeah. This is a great question, right? Because I don't really just got those guys out too much on a platform perspective. I'm almost like, hey man, you're doing great. You're doing great. But first and foremost, man, like, my dad's been a big part of my life. We haven't always had the best relationship growing up. There were years in high school when it's rocky, and when you're more like one person than you like to admit, sometimes it gets a little bit rocky. But just seeing his dedication to his career and his dedication to his kids, man, it's just been awesome. And that's something I want to try to emulate. When I get in his shoes, 20 years down the line, I'm like, I have kids of my own and I have a career of my own, and just his dedication of waking up at 3:00 in the morning, going to work, getting home at, 6 p.m. and then taking the kid, brother to soccer practice. Like, that takes a lot of dedication. I really love to see that. So I admire that from him. And then my buddy Alex, he's 1 or 2 years older than me. And he serves in Young Life now. And just to see him walk out his faith, going to those high schools every day and just being a friend to these guys and loving on these high school kids. Yeah. It's just so awesome to see. We have so many spiritual conversations, like right here in the kitchen I'm in right now. It's like, we'll sit on the couch till 4 a.m. just talking about, hey man, I'm struggling with this. Like, you have any advice for me? And he's like, yeah, man, this is what I see. And he's like, we can bounce off each other for hours on end. And I'm so thankful for him and everything he's meant to my spiritual walk, and as well as my Bucks walk.
Amen. Friends are a good gift from God.
They are. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Connor, the Lord leading the way, this master's degree coming to a completion. Who and where do you hope to be 5 years from now?
Man, 5 years from now. Lord leading the way. I said this on my core application when I went to that, and it's still kind of a goal. I want to work in a national park somewhere. And I don't know, man. I just love being outdoors. It's awesome. It's awesome to see God's creation. Or it's kind of shifted a little bit to being a golf coach. I love golf. Golf's awesome.
Great game.
It is. It is a
A
super
lot of life
aggravating
lessons in golf.
Yeah, patience is one of them for sure.
Yes, most definitely. First and foremost, I found. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I want a career where I can have interactions with people on the daily and live out my faith for them, right? Because I know in some places you're not necessarily allowed to talk openly about your faith, but your actions can say a lot, right? You can say, hey man, I'm going to love like Christ loved. I'm going to serve like Christ served. And those things are like, man, that guy's got a different fire in him. Like what's different about him? And then outside of the workplace, man, you can have those conversations with those guys and be like, hey, this is, Jesus is my savior, right? And I want you to be a part of this. And then they'll be able to see that. And hopefully my career can open avenues for that.
Well said. Well said. Connor Wilson, so grateful that we got to talk to you today on Collegiate Leaders. You definitely are one, bro. Keep leading on.
Thank you for the invite.
You bet. You bet. My pleasure, man. Great to hear from you today. Before we sign off, you've got thousands of faithful brothers who are listening to you. Some are currently, they're Collegiate BYX members, got a lot of alumni members, people even outside of BYX listening in to Man to Men. How can they be praying for you as they listen?
Yeah, just pray to slow down. In the season of my life where it seems super hectic and super busy with leading in BYX and being in Masters, and just prayers for staying slow and living every day to its fullest, and just saying, today's a blessing. I'm glad that I woke up today, and how can we attack the day and live like Christ?
You live as a thankful man. Love talking with you today, Connor.
Thank you.
Man to Men is powered by Beta Upsilon Chi, commonly referred to as BYX. As you heard today, everywhere, every day, BYX men are stepping into life, raising families, leading in organizations, and strengthening churches to impact our communities for Christ. You can find out more about Beta Upsilon Chi by transliterating our Greek letters and adding a .org. That's byx.org. If you're enjoying the podcast, you can please subscribe and consider giving to our work with college men like Connor across the country by following the individual partner link in the show notes. We are produced, rather well, I might add, by the good gentlemen of the Good Podcast Company. For Beta Upsilon Chi, I'm Dr. Jared Musgrove with Man to Men.